start out with a theme. It's thematic based, and our teachers usually choose the theme as a team. And then we'll start researching in the summer what goes along with it. So this year we chose the rainforest. So in the summer we can start choosing what kind of animals and what kind of environment and things go along with the rainforest. So when we start talking about theme with our children, we start telling them we're going to go somewhere and we're going to learn something new. And so we look at maps and we look at how would be the best way to get there. And so when we looked at a map of the United States and we looked at where the rainforests were, they decided, we talked about airplanes, we talked about boats, we talked about different kinds of transportation and cars, and could a car really drive there? And they come around with the questioning, they come around to, oh, an airplane would be the best way to get there. And so then we started talking about how we would get ready for an airplane. And the teachers usually do a little background research, and we can find videos and we can find pictures and make PowerPoints that kind of show the process of how to get on airplanes, because lots of times when kids are 5, most of them have not been to an airport or they haven't been on an airplane. We called the airport, and the people at the airport were so kind and generous, and they really welcomed us, and they had rotations set up for us so that we could see the fuel trucks and we could see the inside of an airplane, and the kids got to sit in the airplane and they got to drive the airplane and pull the yoke and label the parts of the airplane, and they got to see the Auburn University jet that was in the hangar, and they got to talk to a pilot and ask questions. So we did that background research so that that would prepare them for making their own airplane. You know what this part of the plane is? What is it, Reagan?
The nose.
The nose. What's this part of the plane? Brock?
Cockpit.
The cockpit. What's this part of the plane called?
The wing.
What is it? The wing.
Wing.
Oh, wait. The body of the plane. What's it called?
The tail.
Nope.
The tail.
The what?
Fuselage.
Fuselage. That was good. On 3, I want you to say fuselage. 1, 2, 3.
Fuselage. Over here.
So we did that background research so that that would prepare them for making their own airplane. So we actually made the airplane here. After we got back, we decided, well, we saw the parts of the airplane. What parts of the airplane do we need? And so each class took on a different section. So one class did the fuselage of the airplane, and our class did the cockpit. And they decided they needed yokes, and they needed a control panel, and they needed windows. And in the middle of the process, we can incorporate all of our subject areas. We can incorporate literacy because we read books. We do research on the internet. We answer questions. We use lots of graphic organizers like KWL charts and webs to talk about what we know already and what we want to know and kind of where our research is headed. And then we can incorporate math. So one example we did math is we talked about airplanes and we made paper airplanes, and then we put feet on the carpet and we flew our airplanes to see how far they would fly. And we measured in feet, the flight of our airplanes. Now we're in the rainforest, and we've started talking about life cycles and which animals live where. And my class has decided they want to talk about Amazon River animals, which is part of the rainforest, but was not an area that I would have thought that they would go to. So it's very interesting every year to see where a group of kids wants to go. And then the kids signed up for jobs. So each child had a job on our flight. So we had baggage handlers and flight attendants and a pilot and a co-pilot and a passport agent. So when we deported the plane, the passport agent could stamp their passport. So our kids made passports that had their pictures in them, and they had a stamp from the rainforest. And They had tickets and they made suitcases out of pizza boxes. We talked about what they needed to take on a trip and what they didn't need to take on a trip. So your suitcase wouldn't be filled with 15 cookies or 5 fruit cakes. That you would need changes of clothing, and you would need toothpaste and soap and shampoo. So, that was meaningful for them to get to pack their suitcase and take their suitcase with them. So on the day of the flight, as the kids enter, each child has a passport and a ticket to board the flight. And so the kids will say, I need a ticket to the Rainforest. And so they'll take their ticket and give them a boarding pass. And then from the ticket counter, they go to the luggage counter. And the kids have made x-ray scanners. So they'll slide their suitcases through the x-ray scanner. And then the baggage handlers will take the suitcases and they'll stack those up so that they can take those to put them on the plane. Then they go through security. And the kids have made security wands, and they've made an x-ray machine for the kids to walk through. The next step is for them to board the plane. So they'll be greeted by their flight attendant, who will take their boarding pass and show them to their seats. Then once we board the plane, our chefs will sneak off to the back, and we'll have a mixture, like a trail mix, that they have to mix up and put in different containers. The pilot and the co-pilot take their seats, and the control tower people take their places, and they have on headphones and they can talk to each other. So the pilot will say, control tower, ready for takeoff, and control tower will say, it's all clear, you're ready. And so the pilot and the co-pilot can talk to each other. Once they're on the plane, we start an in-flight movie. So we started Rio 2, since we're going to the rainforest. And then the flight attendants will pass out the snack. Once we have flown for a little bit, the pilot and the co-pilot, they'll land the plane. And then our kids will get off the plane and they'll go to the passport counter. They'll take their passports. And we have 2 passport agents that will stamp their passports with a Rainforest stamp, and then they'll take their passports to the baggage claim where they can pick their suitcases up, and then they can travel back to their classroom. So once we get back to the classroom, over the next few months, we'll continue to study the rainforest. So what my class did is we started making a web of rainforest and the parts of the rainforest and the layers of the rainforest, and then we looked at different animals in each part, and then they decide which animal they want to learn more about. So my kids were really interested in a fish called an arapaima. So what we did is we decided we would research the arapaima, and so the kids we made a KWL chart, and we talked about what we know and what we want to know and what we learned. And they did all the research, and then we made can have R charts that kind of described the arapaima. And then we made one, and they're actually about 6 feet long. So they made a real life size one, and we put it in a rainforest that we had created for our classroom. The kids responded really well. They were super excited. They dressed the part. Their parents were excited. We had lots of parents come to observe the flight. And observe all the hard work that they put into that, because it took weeks to prepare a plane and a trip and to prepare their knowledge of what they needed to do. We'll most definitely do this kind of thing again. We'll let the kids decide, if it could be a cruise, or if it could be an RV trip, or if it could be something else. We're very thankful to our administration that lets us have the freedom to be creative with our themes and to let our kids decide where they want to go, because when the kids get to decide, then the learning is much more meaningful and it's much more authentic, and the kids get really excited about it, and then we get really excited about it. So it just makes instruction more fun, more joyful.